Alrighty, it's Tom's Refurb here. I just left the car dealership, and let me tell you, I hustled that car salesman. He didn't know what hit him. I got this thing for like $45,000 and 60% APR over 50 years, whatever the that means. But hey, I'm now the owner of an S550 Mustang. And you know, if you work hard, maybe someday you can get here too. I don't know, probably not. I'm just kidding. Now the truth is, I got this 2015 Mustang GT 6-speed off Facebook Marketplace for literally half the price of what it should have been. Now that's really due to me being a super shrewd negotiator, but there is a tiny detail that involves this car crashing and killing a family of 6 or some shit like that. I don't know, I didn't read the police report. But either way, I'm now the proud owner of an R-Title S550 that needs a little bit of work to reach Tom's Refurb standards, so let's get to it. Now for a salvage title Mustang, this thing is actually pretty nice. It's a premium with all the bells and whistles, and it only has 60,000 miles. This car was crashed right here. It didn't affect the frame, but it did affect lots of other metal that the previous owner already fixed. So my job is gonna be fairly simple. Now the car needs finishing work, including the paint being messed up on the hood in spots like these. Like you just see there. They're messed up. And you could also see that the guy did a GT350 or 500 front end conversion, which included fenders that were painted pretty badly. And come over here. There are some other spots like these where it was likely dented at the salvage yard or something like that, and the guy started doing body work but didn't finish it. And aside from the finishing body work, this thing just needs to be cooler, it needs to be lower, it needs to be louder, it needs to be faster. And there's some stupid shit that I might not even fix. We'll see. Like the airbags being out. Who cares about airbags? None of my other cars have airbags. Nothing I drive is safe. This is the first semi-new vehicle I've had in a very long time. Anyways, I say let's go for a ride and then get to work. Now I drive this bad girl in track mode only. Okay, and I also drive it with StabiliTrak all the way off because I have testicles, unlike a lot of you car guys. I immediately crash it. This thing is way too nice. I don't ever drive anything this nice. It has air-conditioned seats, which may actually make you feel like you're pissing yourself. They make you feel like you're pissing your pants if you ever have tried air-conditioned seats. I don't like them particularly, but either way. It has 6 gears. It's like double overdrive. It gets 16 miles per gallon, which is actually better than all of my cars. And it's pretty speedy. Now it ain't no noise complaint, but it does run pretty good. It's actually a lot faster than noise complaint, but it doesn't make the sweet noises, so it's not as good as noise complaint. A lot of cars in Mexico right now. There's a lot of cars in Mexico. I wish there weren't so many Mexican cars driving in Mexico.
Can you name me a Mexican car brand?
What? Alright, I guess it is proven it's worthy. So let's go work on it. Jesus Christ. I have to move this Mustang out of the garage, which is also a wrecked R-Title Mustang. Just a lot slower. Just for comparative purposes, and definitely not just because I like to bang shift, we should definitely take this for a ride and see how it compares. Oh, it's very clunky. You hear it? It also needs rear brakes, and it also does not have a working e-brake. And it also was wrecked, and it also is a terrible car. I'm gonna use this time to give you guys a brief lesson on bang shifting. Now, bang shifting is how you basically drive or mod any vehicle regardless of, regardless of how fast or slow it is. Basically, when you bang shift, say you're in first gear, right? And you're like, wah, bah, bah, bah. When you get to the top of first gear, before you push the clutch to the floor, you want to start pulling it out of gear. So by the time the clutch pedal hits the floor, the shifter is in the next gear, and then you can instantaneously, bam, pop back onto the gas. You do that like this. All right, okay, that's a bang shift. Now you can also go for the more destructive method, which I am personally a big fan of, which is the power shift. The power shift is when you don't lift off the gas and you just take that force into the next gear. That goes about like this. I like power shifting, but it breaks things a lot. And don't be in the comments saying, don't be in the comments saying if you really want to power shift, you don't touch the clutch pedal at all. That's like a very specific drag race transmission only. If you try to do that in any other car, it is going to do very bad things. Let's make it better. First course of action is to take care of the cosmetics, because an all black car looks like dog shit driving around with body filler showing. And as you can see, the guy stopped doing the body work a long time ago, which created some surface rust. And if I body worked over that, then it would rust through. So I'm gonna knock that surface rust off, apply some more filler, get it nice and blocked clean, prime it, and then spray paint it. Bye-bye, rust. I've gone ahead and laid down some tape. I put duct tape right against the edge of what we're gonna sand because I don't want sanding scratches to get on the surrounding areas. And now I'm gonna hit it with a very light dusting of sandable primer, just so it marks the area that we need to sand. And then I'm gonna hit it with some sanding blocks and see where the high and low spots are, to see if I really have to apply much filler, what needs done where, and we'll go from there. Try not to overspray this on everything. I'm using this as a guide coat. Oh, I'm done. It looks better already. I'm impatient. First, I got 180 grit on a flat block. You see, you got a high spot right there. You definitely got some high spots. So on these few high spots here, before I apply some filler, I'm gonna make them not high anymore. Some real light taps. The body hammer will indent the metal just like a hair. Enough where body filler can fill in the space and make it smooth. Now we apply some filler. Before I apply filler, I'm gonna do the same thing to the other spots. So I can apply all the filler at once. You can see that primer comes right off. Honestly, not bad. I don't even have to put filler on top there. I already taught you all how to do this. Watch the last video if you want a good bodywork lesson from Tom. In this video, we're just gonna bang it out. We're just gonna bazang it out, you know what I'm saying?
Dude, I said don't show them this. They can go watch the other video. Okay, go watch it. Go watch it.
While that body filler dries, I'm gonna fix something easy, which is this tail panel that was poorly prepped and painted. And I got this one off eBay, which is factory painted in nice shape for less than 200 bucks. So we'll toss that on real quick. Backup camera, goodbye. And it looks like he stripped out the bolt holes, so this should just pop out. Watch me destroy it. Backup camera. Something I do not usually have. And now we line it up, and I should buy new cars way more often. This is such a strange design. Let's put screws in it, but we'll make them rubber. That's a good idea. Oh, good job, Jim. You want to go get lunch together tonight? No, last time it got too sexual. Yeah. You know how the Ford technicians talk. Damn it was not nearly as satisfying. Ready? The grand reveal? That looks so much better. Wow, new car, $80,000. Someone come pick it up. Now I'm gonna try to fix some of this because this is very loose. And we can see here that it's held in with minimal bolts. And some of those bolts are not even tight. Wow, missing bolts galore. The right way to install these is with these little nut clips. Boop. Maybe that's not how they did it in the factory, but that's how I'm gonna do it. And then, get this, you can actually tighten them. Oh, it's actually tight. Headlights, feeling good. Next, loosey-goosey bumper. Another threaded clip instead of zip ties and self-tappers. It's already getting better. Now let's figure out the corners where the bumper is very loosey-goosey. Now the guy used these little push button connectors to hold the corners of the bumper up, which works fine for me. I don't really care. So I got them adjusted pretty closely, and now I'm just gonna work with the factory holes in a zip tie here and get that squared up. And we'll pop this in. Boom, fitment, pretty nice. And look, we're a little loosey-goosey back here. Now, all we gotta do is a little tightening of the zip tie. Ooh, and we watch that gap fix itself and get tighter. That's good enough for Tom's refurb. Round one was not nearly enough, so let's do all that again.
Boy, Tom, you're really outdoing yourself on this Mustang. Why are you laughing?
Stop laughing in the background.
Stop it! Quiet on set!
While the second round of body filler dries, let's again move back to the trunk, because today we got another package. This time, a spoiler. I just actually put myself in the I know it's basic, and I'm probably gonna get dragged for it, but I like ducktail spoilers, and I don't really like this teeny weeny baby spoiler that's on the car. Especially with that nice front end, it just doesn't match the back, so let's make it a little more aggressive. Ooh, it's already gloss black. Wow, that actually looks way nicer than I expected it to. This is only like $100 on eBay. Wow. Ooh. Guess I can't sell that. There it goes.
Lay down that double-sided tape so this eBay quality ducktail doesn't come off.
One, tight. Two, tight. All right, spoiler is on and tight. Now for reassembly again, even though we just did this. That'll be done right about now. Wow, very speedy. Very speedy indeed, wow. I like that. Looks fast. Body filler's dry, let's go for round two and hope that I don't have to do any more after this.
I'm gonna start out with 80 grit just to knock the big shits out.
This is pretty damn good. I feel like it's ready for some primer now. Nice and smooth, no big high spots, no low spots. Some filler primer, we'll get that perfect. I'm saying the bodywork on this car is done, so now we're gonna apply some filler primer, but first, we gotta tape it off. That'll be done right about now. You can see we have taped off a large area around the spots that we've done bodywork, and that's because I'm gonna have to do a lot of blending with both paint and clear coat. So, we have this side here ready to go. Come up here. We have the spots on the hood that the guy started sanding because I'm pretty sure the factory paint just started corroding off of the aluminum. So I finished up the little bits of bodywork on that and got this masked off. And then come over here. We have the quarter panel that is nice and smooth and bodyworked. That's just gonna require a little filler primer, and then we'll have to blend the paint and clear coat on this. So now, all we gotta do is scuff all these areas to prep them for paint and clear coat, and then we'll wipe them down and we'll start spraying. With spray paint, of course. All right, so as you can see, I'm scuffing pretty much the whole area that is gonna at least see clear coat. I'm using red Scotch-Brite, and the goal for this sort of touch-up job is to minimize the area you're gonna filler prime so then you can do a little more paint over the primer around it, and then of course you have to blend the clear coat as well. So this scuffed area is pretty much covering all the bits that I feel like I'll probably clear coat. I've taped off the gas cap because the factory paint was intact. You'll see, it's gonna look pretty good. Over here, same idea. We're gonna scuff this entire area because I'm gonna paint and clear coat pretty much the whole pillar, and we're gonna stop about here. And then again, we're gonna touch up a little bit of the guy's paint on the fenders, but we're gonna stop down here. It's gonna look beautiful. All right, everything's scuffed now. I blew it off with some compressed air, so now it's time to prep. When you prep something like this, I usually do dry, wet, dry. So I start with these tack rags. This is a dry one just to get the layer of dust off that has accumulated from sanding. You can see, it's already looking a lot cleaner when you do that. Wow, Tom, thanks for the tip. That's really helpful. Wow. Then we take another clean rag and we take some Prep All wax and grease remover. Dump it on there. You know, nice, good amount. And then we wipe down the entire panel. This will get the dirt lifted to the surface. Wow, look at that. So that lifts the dirt to the surface and wipes a lot of it off. So then you take one more clean dry rag and you do a final wipe to get all of the dirt off of the surface. You can also do a final wipe down with something called a tack rag that'll get any little imperfections off. But this will get your surface nice and clean and ready for paint. Same thing here. First, a dust wipe, and then a wet wipe, and then a clean dry wipe. Now, it's time for paint and primer. You probably know you should not use spray paint for a car, especially a newer car like this. You should use a paint gun with professional primer, professional paint, and professional clear. You should do it right. But I'm gonna show you that you don't need to do it right. I'm gonna use spray paint without really masking much off or blocking anything off in this dusty shop, but I'm gonna show you that you can make a black paint job come out pretty good on a new Mustang. Don't try this at home. Anyways, for primer, we're getting the best of the best. This stuff is damn near as good as the stuff you use in a paint gun. It's SEM high build primer. So what we're gonna do is spray this over the areas we body worked, and then we're gonna paint. I love making bombs in my spare time. I like bombs that blow up in my face. Get that paint nice and warm. It's like a workout. Keep shaking, get that paint warm, feel the burn, feel the danger. You're about to make some good things happen. You're about to do some cool shit with this spray paint, man. So, as you can see, what I'm doing is minimizing the amount I am priming because I want to minimize the amount that I paint. So I'm focusing really only on the area that I did body work on and a little bit around it so it blends nicely because we don't want to paint this entire car. We want to paint these little bits. Bodywork's looking pretty decent for 2 passes. Not too shabby. Beautiful! Looks like a new car, one might say. Alright, I've done about 3 coats of primer, so now I'm gonna let it dry all the way, and then we'll go hang out, you know, twiddle our thumbs a little bit or something. And then we'll come back, and we'll hit it with a little scuff, and then we'll paint. Quick trip to get sandpaper. And we'll get there eventually. Alright, package secured. Get that car done quick now. Whoa, we're back! Magic. The primer is nice and dry, so we're gonna once again hit it with a little scuff. The right way to do this is to hit it with some very fine grit sandpaper, something like maybe 320, maybe finer.
but we're just gonna hit it with a scuff pad and we're gonna make sure everything's nice and clean and prepped for the black paint. So, this will knock off the primer overspray that you're not gonna wanna clear coat over once the paint's laid down. And it'll also smooth everything out. So you get a nice, pretty finish that feels slick and will require a little less wet sanding. Smooth as a baby's bottom. I'd like to add a disclaimer that I have never touched a baby's bottom, but I'm just going with the phrase in regards to baby's bottoms, as it is a common phrase. We're all scuffed and ready to go. I just hit it with a dry wipe. Now we're doing a wet wipe and one more dry wipe, and then we're going to paint it. All right, we're all prepped, we're all re-wiped, we're set up and ready to go. So now, it's time to lay on some base coat. This is eBay's finest. When I want to match paint, I look up the paint code on the vehicle, and then I type it into eBay, and I get myself some touch-up. They sell the cans along with cans of spray paint, and this stuff is actually mixed at a shop and then injected in these cans, so it's pretty good. It's better than like Rust-Oleum or something like that. Once again, you probably shouldn't do this if you really care about your car. You should get a real paint gun and do it properly, but I'm gonna show you how to do this semi-right. So you get your eBay base coat, you mix it up real nice, all right? And then what we're gonna do is nice, even coats, starting out light to make sure it lays down nicely. And we're gonna kind of fog it right past where the primer is. We wanna blend this beautifully, and then we will also be blending the clear coat after we lay on the base coat. So let's mix it up and start spraying.
Little test spot here. Oh yeah, that lays down nice. So we're just gonna go nice and light and quick over this whole panel, and we're gonna end right after the primer. And then we're gonna start out, boom, nice, light, and quick, all the way down. That's how you do it. Looks like a new car already. First coat, not too shabby, looking better.
We'll let that dry, and then we'll do that again with some slower, more even coats.
All right, now for a more even, longer coat.
This stuff usually dries pretty fast, so you don't need to wait insanely long to recoat. So now I'm just gonna focus on more light, even strokes. And when you paint with these like V outward spraying tips, you just wanna overlap by half on each paint stroke. Look what I mean.
We'll start on the bottom, go all the way across, nice and slow and even. And then we'll reach about halfway on that stroke and come back. Do the same thing, nice, slow, and even. And then we'll blend, pointing it more outward. Beautiful, wow!
By the way, when I'm talking about thick versus thin with coats, I'm talking about the speed at which you're painting. So a thin coat is just a dusting, it's a a thick coat is a nice, slow, steady, even coat. All right, it's flash dried now, so let's go for some clear coat. Pretty much the exact same thing, but we're gonna go a little further than the paint, blend it onto the stock paint. It's gonna look good. It's gonna look very nice. Paint's dry enough, so now let's take the paper off, let it dry the rest of the way, and then tomorrow we'll come back and wet sand it. All right, paint's dry. Now we have to wet sand. As you can see, there's a pretty good difference between where we painted and where the stock paint is. So by wet sanding, starting out with 1500 grit to knock it down and then 2000 grit to smooth it out, hopefully we can make this transition not noticeable. We're also going to buff the snot out of the entire car, which should help the situation. So let's get to work and see if we can't make this decent. My regrettable decision to paint a black car in a dusty shop without keeping any dust away has led to lots of dirt in the paint. So hopefully this little sanding block and this 1500 grit and this water helps with that. So I'm just going to start here. I'm going to start here on the edge. When you wet sand, you pretty much do exactly what you do with block sanding, like you do in body work, and you go at a crisscross, sort of crosshatch pattern. And what the goal is to knock off all of that blended overspray, so it's just pigment. So a quick tip for wet sanding the overspray and orange peel like this. Once you get your clean wet sandpaper, you start out on the surface and you can feel it. It's kind of rough. Listen, you hear that sound? So the longer you sand it, you'll know that you're making progress when it smooths out. The more you sand it, the more it knocks down that peel and gets rid of that rough surface that you can hear. The more you wet sand, the more smooth it gets. And eventually you'll just hear it very little. Now that we hit it with the 1500, you can just wipe it off. And the sanding scratches will show you where you need to wet sand more. So we'll just get this nice and dry. All right, so I've gone ahead and wiped it off, dried it off. Now we can see where we need to wet sand some more. If you look in here, you can tell there's a little bit of orange peel in this area that we still have to sand down. And a little bit in the nose here we gotta sand down. And I'm also gonna hit this area here, the sort of transition place, so it's nice and even, and when we buff it, it really won't be noticeable. So I'm gonna use 1500 grade a little more, and then we'll knock it down with 2000 so these scratches go away. And then we'll hit it with a buffer and see if it looks nice. All right, the 1500 round is done. I wiped it off with some microfiber, so now it's clean and dry. And you can come over and see that there's not any orange peel left. It's nice and smooth. And you can also see the little transition where we went from spray paint clear coat to the factory clear coat. So when I buff the ever-loving snot out of this after hitting it with 2000 grit wet sand, you probably won't tell. So now I'm gonna go for the 2000 grit wet sand, and then we'll just buff it to make sure that our hypothesis is true. So when I see you in a second, I will be done with 2000 grit wet sand. That will be right about now. We've hit it with 2000 grit sandpaper on the entire hood in hopes of kind of blending it all together. So now I'm gonna take this rotary buffer with a wool pad and some compound, and I'm gonna try to knock these scratches out. We'll see how it looks. We'll do a little test spot maybe. We'll take this, and I'm just gonna do a test area here. Now, look at this little area that I just successfully cleaned up here. Spray paint, factory paint. Spray paint, factory paint. Huh. Now, under direct shop light on black paint, yes, you can see the difference, but on camera, you probably can't. And that, my friends, is good enough. And just like that, after 2-stage buff and polish, look at this here. Look at this here. Come here. Spray paint, factory paint, spray paint, factory paint. You can't feel it. You can not see it, really. There's a couple sanding scratches from my prep work, which is 100% my fault. But besides the sanding scratches, it actually looks pretty nice. So now let's wet sand and buff all of the other places we painted, and then let's buff the whole car. It's gonna take a long time. Pillar wet sanded. Definitely by me. I did it. I didn't make the cameraman do it. I did it. Yeah, it's all me. I did it. Get a little smudge on there. Now I'm gonna tackle the previous owner's paint job, and we'll see if we can make it as good as my spray paint job. Because he did these fenders, and they don't look good. I'm also kind of risking it for the biscuit right now because I have no idea how many coats of clear coat that guy did on these fenders. But I'm just trying to knock off the orange peel. So if he did like 1 weak thin coat of clear coat, I am gonna sand it right off. And I'm just hoping I don't do that. All right, the 2000 grit is finished, passenger fender's finished, and we're ready to buff. Now before we buff it, I need to go wash it. And I don't feel like washing it right now. So let's do something completely different, and we'll focus on buffing and detailing for the end, once the next modifications are finished. My first distraction that I am choosing to put on the car before I buff for hours on end is lowering springs. Now my good friends at CJ Pony Parts knew that I picked up this S550, and they were cool enough to send over quite a few bolt-ons for it. They're gonna make it way better. So first things first, we got some Alden American lowering springs. These should drop it like 1.25 inches all the way around, which should really help it look tough. So let's put them on. Now I'm sad to report that I will not be torching these springs. You know, that's my favorite thing to do to lower a car. I'm gonna actually install the lowering springs.
Don't pop all the shit out of here. All these stupid little sensors. I'm not plugging them back in. I'm not scared. I don't need any of that safety. Useless.
Sway bar. Off. Caliper 1. Caliper 2. Okay. There it goes. A little more careful on this one. We're currently doing the world's slowest street racing in 2 full-size Chevy trucks. We're going approximately 40 to 70. Ready? Ready? Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
You know, I may have gotten smoked in that race, but at least my truck starts up every time.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Talking my
I don't want to be filmed right now. I'm losing my shit, dude. I'm losing my
my truck now.
Race number 2, we're gonna have Matt in the right lane, and I'm gonna give him the jump. He's got Ron Burgundy in bone stock form, and we have Ron Burgundy in Ron Burgundy form. And as you can see, I've been smoking him easily with no sweat. So I'm gonna give him the jump, and then I'm gonna reel him in. I'm gonna hurt his feelings.
It appears he wants a rematch. Uphill this time.
I'll beat your ass downhill, uphill, sideways, boy. Yeah, go.
Best part is, I you not, we did not go faster than 70.
There's a real chance I will hurt myself right now.
This is too much work, dude. I'm not used to working.
All right, that is loose and dangerous, so I'm going to remove it. Oh boy. Okay. All right, now we got the brand new Alden American lowering springs. We will put them in. All right. I hate doing this, viewer. If you have a Mustang, just leave it to the stock height, because the mental anguish you will put yourself through is not worth the small gratification that an inch of lowering will allow for. The same exact miserable job will be finished on this side in 3, 2, 1. Now, that actually was not nearly as hard as the first time. It actually came out rather... I bet I can just let go of this thing and it'll pull the spring out itself. Let me just jam it in a little further. Ready? Here it goes. Let go, no force. Ooh. Now it's a time bomb. Once again, thank you to CJ Pony Parts for sending over the Alden American springs. Hopefully the car handles better too after this. Okay, this is how much easier is this gonna be to go in? Ready, set, heave. Oh, almost. Ready? Got my fingers. Oh, good. We in it. Oh. Wow. Boom! One side done. The other side will be done right about now. That actually was way easier. Only about 4 hours worth of work,
And we're stuck on the lift. That's a good sign. Let's go to the car wash and hit the car with a clay mitt. It's pretty much the same thing as a clay bar and will help prep the rest of the paint that we haven't touched for buffing. Because today, we're buffing. Curious to see how much faster this is after we do some further modifications later. All right. Can I do this in 5 minutes? What I'm doing right now is getting all the paint with the clay side of a clay mitt. It'll get all of the dirt out of it and will help it buff way easier. The roof had the most dirt embedded in the paint, so this will get all that up. Alright, let's dry it off and also get a baseline before the mods. Runs alright, pretty quick. The time has come to buff. We're starting out with the wool pad and some compound, and we're only going to be doing this on the spots that we painted. So on the fenders and that pillar and the quarter panel, we will hit with the wool pad and compound, and then we will hit the entire car with a soft polish, and it's going to look way better than you could have ever expected, I bet. Probably. Everything that we painted is now cut down with the wool pad and the heavy compound. Now look at this. Can you look at this quarter panel and tell me where I spray painted it? Because I can't. All right, it's now time to buff. We're using standard polishing pads and some standard polish you buy at the auto parts store. We're gonna double team the car and make it mirror finish shine in this time lapse. Let's go. All right, we're done. Let me talk my real quick. For spray paint, wet sanding, and buffing, this thing came out awesome. The quarter panels, you can't even tell where we painted them. The hood, pretty decent. The pillar, super decent. The car, as a whole, to the naked eye, it looks like a perfect, beautiful sports car, which is what it is. It's definitely not a rebuilt title Mustang with half the airbags still deployed. It's not that. It's a perfect Mustang. All right, this car is looking insanely good, so now it's time to make it faster. My good friends at CJ Pony Parts, yes, they sent me those lowering springs. They look awesome, this car sits great, and they were also cool enough to send over some performance parts. So now it's time to install this JLT cold air intake kit along with an SCT X4 tuner that's gonna really wake up this 5.0, and I cannot wait to see what kind of difference it makes. Cold air intake looks sweet. Whoa! It looks like the car put itself up onto the lift. Now the car already has some exhaust work done. It's got some Borla mufflers on it, but they're not loud enough. And you know me, I'm a douchebag. I like loud. So these are muffler delete pipes that I bought off eBay for about $200. So let's Bye-bye. Bye-bye. The Mustang's done now. Off camera, I went ahead and hit it with an orbital buffer and some very light polish to get the swirls out. I waxed everything except for the fresh paint because you're not supposed to wax fresh paint. And I fixed the curb rash on the wheels. So, I'll let you be the judge of how it looks. Let's see what a difference that tuner and cold air intake made, shall we? Now that SCT tuner let me input the fact that I added a cold air intake. I put a 93 octane tune on it, and I also raised rev limiter to 7400, and it made a difference. It made a difference. This thing sounds crazy above 7 grand. I think stock it limited it at like 7,000 or 7,100, so now we're screaming. Hold up, give me a sec. Guy in front of me is getting scared. I can feel it. I can sense it. I'd be scared too if I were him. This is nothing like my 1966. Okay. Let's see what it's like.
What's up, guys? Tom just bought me this house. You know, some people say he's like Mr. Beast, but with cars. And let me just say, I cannot wait to start meth production.
Ooh, she like the power shift. This MT82 is gonna be screaming for help by the time I'm done with it. New cars are stupid. Trash control fuse made a difference. Oh my God. Oh, where the sideshow's at? I'm just kidding. I shouldn't have one of these because I'm gonna go to jail or I'm gonna hurt myself. So on that note, let's just appreciate the magic that happened with a little bit of rattle can and elbow grease, because this no longer really looks like a rebuilt title Mustang. And of course, thank you to CJ Pony Parts for sending over the stuff to make it faster and better. And obviously, thank you for watching the coolest damn automotive content on YouTube. I will see you very soon. Maybe. Or what if I don't? What if I drop off the face of the earth tomorrow? What if I go live off the grid? What if I live in Alaska and you have no idea where I am? What if I make a hut? What if I make an igloo? You won't know. I definitely won't film about it. Fuck you. Bye.